Welcome to lesson number 6, where we are going to continue to dive in to the 7 ways that you balance your blood sugar. Let's recap all 7 really quick. Drink more water, evaluate the best protein source for you, add healthy fats, eat more, not less, consistent meal timing, sleep, and movement. Yesterday we dived into water and sleep. Today we're going to talk about fat and meal timing. 2 important things. So if you're like me, fat used to be something that you were terrified of. You bought everything low fat, everything fat free, no fat. Everything in your refrigerator was as little fat as possible. You didn't eat red meat because it was too fat. You didn't eat full fat sour cream, yogurt, milk, all kinds of dairy things, obviously. You bought, baked chips because those are better. And you bought, I don't even remember. It's been so long since I've bought anything low fat or fat free. But basically they make everything low fat or fat free these days. But I'm sorry, they still do. It's thankfully not as much of a craze as it was in like the 80s and 90s. So in the 80s and 90s, people thought that fat was the worst thing, that fat would make you fat. So food manufacturers obviously are going to monetize on that and make things that are going to be low fat. But guess what? People gained weight. Why? Because food has to be compromised, has to have 4 main components: protein, fat, carbs, and water. Well, if you take one of those out, you have to replace it with something. So when you take out fat, guess what it's replaced with? Sugar. Oh, so do you think adding sugar is going to help balance your blood sugar levels? Nope. So a product might be low in fat, but it's high in calories, which I'm not a big calorie counter, and we will talk about eat more, not less later. But fat is one of the main nutrients in our food that actually makes us feel full and satisfied. So when you take fat out, then you just tend to want more, right? It's that sugar roller coaster, because if they're taking fat out and they're putting in sugar, and then you want low-fat stuff, and then you crash, and then you just want more low-fat stuff, and then you crash, and you're constantly looking for some satisfaction because you don't have fat in your diet. You need fat in your diet. You need it. Now you want it to be healthy fat. You don't want it to be saturated fat, unsaturated fat. You want to look for healthy fats such as coconut oil. Avocado is one of my favorites to get a healthy fat. Nut butter is one of my favorite ways to get a healthy fat. What else? I have a whole list that I'm going to share with you of healthy fats that you can look at and go over and review whether or not you are adding these to your daily diet. So, how do you know if you are deficient in fat? Because you may think that you're getting enough from certain things, but you might not be. So for me, I probably don't get enough fat. Another way to get some good fat is to eat red meat, and I don't eat it that often. I love it. And I used to be scared of it, so I wouldn't eat it because I thought it was fattening. But that's one way. But here are some signs that you might be deficient. Your hair and your nails are brittle. They split, they crack. Mine have always been that way. My hair, unfortunately, has gotten really bad over the years and really breaks. I have all this really short hair in the back. So maybe it's something maybe I need more fat. Never know. I'm going to have to maybe do some more teaspoons of coconut oil. You guys ever did that before? If you have really dry skin, if you have really dry eyes, if you have excessive earwax, I don't, thankfully. If you're spacey or forgetful, that's totally me. I need to evaluate this more as I'm going through this with you guys. If you always feel tired, if you're always really thirsty. I mean, here's my water bottle. Remember I talked about it yesterday and didn't have it in front of me. I'm always thirsty. And so maybe I just need more fat. If you're a chronic dieter, which I hope you girls aren't, because if you're with me, if you are or you were, you're not going to be anymore. Because you were probably a chronic dieter because you didn't have any fat in your diet. That was definitely me. I was definitely eating everything, no fat. I was eating 100-calorie packs and all that kind of junk for the longest time, and I was constantly on this diet roller coaster, losing and then gaining and then losing and then gaining, and it just sucks. So if you lose weight and then gain weight and then lose weight and then gain weight, that's another sign. So if you have anything low fat or no fat in your house, stop buying it. You are better off buying the full fat of anything, because remember, anything that's low fat or no fat, it's just taking the fat out and replacing it with something else, whether or not it's sugar or some other alternative preservative of some sort. So some sort of junk. Second thing we're going to talk about today is meal timing. How to know when to eat. Basically, your body goes through these cycles all day long, where your body temperature rises and your body temperature goes down when it's digesting and when it's going through these different cycles. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like when the sun rises, and we wake up when the sun rises, right? When the sun rises, our temperature rises. When the sun is at its peak at noon, our temperature of our body is at its peak. And then when the sun starts to set, our temperature starts to go down as well. Well, our meals or our digestive system works the same way. So that's why it is said to have breakfast in the morning, because your body is waking up and it is at a good state to start digesting your food. So you need to give it some food, okay? And then at noon, you guys, lunch should be your biggest meal, because at noon, your body is at its best state to start digesting, to fully have this full, good digestion. And then in the afternoon, do you want to know why you get that like afternoon slump? Not just from what you eat, but it's because your body after lunch is working so hard to digest your food that it's tired. It's tired. So it needs a little bit of a break. And that's why you hit that afternoon slump. And that's why other countries have siesta or nap time in the afternoon. Like, wouldn't that be awesome? So that's why it's good to take a little break. And if you can't take a nap at work, which some of you probably can't, at that 3 o'clock mark, just try and get up and go outside and take a walk. And then in the evening, between like 4 and 6 or 7, you want to have dinner. Your body is starting to slow down, so you don't want to have a huge dinner because it's not going to have as much time to work it off. And then remember, we said we need to stop eating 2 hours before we go to sleep. So you need to make sure that you are stopping eating 2 hours before you go to sleep. But here's some other tips, some other meal timing tips. 1, at each meal, you need to check your hunger scale and make sure that you're only eating to like 80% full. We're going to talk a little bit more about how to know whether or not you're hungry and all of that in another video. But just know that you want to eat to 80% full. And we'll talk more about that. Your meal times likely are going to be between 4 and 5 hours between each meal. And there might be some snacks within there. Typically, I would say I probably eat like every 3 hours or so, 2 to 3. So like I ate breakfast, about an hour ago. Yeah, late. No, it was probably 2 hours ago. So I'm actually getting hungry again, so I'm going to have lunch soon. I didn't have a snack in there. I guess my coffee is kind of my snack. I actually haven't had my shake yet today, so that'll probably just be with my lunch. It's not, for me, a meal replacement. And then I will probably eat another snack around 3:30. So that's another 3 hours. And then I'll probably eat dinner around 6 or 7. So that's just a typical day for me. That's pretty typical. So because my days are different, I used to be on a very strict schedule when I went to an office every day. So I would have my shake on my way to work at 7 in the morning. I would eat breakfast at 9:30. I would then eat lunch at noon. I would have a snack at 3 or 4, and I would eat dinner at 6 or 7. So it's, yeah, I guess like 2.5, 3 hours in between each of my meals. You want to make sure that you have a good proportion of your macronutrients. Remember, your macronutrients are protein, carbs, and fat. So you need to have a protein and a carb at every single meal. So maybe, and a carb could be vegetables. Like vegetables are a carb. So I don't mean you have to go have sweet potato at every meal. So like for breakfast, I had this is not even typical of me, but I really was craving it. I had a gluten-free tortilla with peanut butter and jelly. I really just wanted it. So probably a little more sugar than I normally would eat, but it was just something that I wanted this morning. And now for lunch, I'm going to have cauliflower rice and eggs. So basically kind of breakfast or lunch. And then I don't know what I'm going to have for snack or dinner. It is going to be out. So I don't have any food, and I'm going to be nannying, so I'm going to be over there. Thankfully, they eat the same way I do. But every meal has some sort of carb and protein and healthy fat. Remember, your largest meal should be lunch. Your smallest meal should be dinner. I typically eat a pretty big breakfast, pretty big lunch, and I try to keep my dinner small. Again, it just depends. My life is very social and different, so it just depends. Try and spend 20 minutes eating. Again, we're going to dive a little bit deeper in this, but put your fork down at every bite. Take 20 minutes to eat a meal. You guys, I'm the fastest eater in the world. So fast. And that is something I need to work on really, 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 really hard to do. Yeah, so those are just a few tips that hopefully can help you time your meals a little bit better. So every 4 to 5 hours, you should be having a meal, meaning breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then try and put a snack if needed. If you don't need a snack, you don't need it. Your body does not need that. It's okay to just eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. As long as you're not, by dinner, like craving something so bad because you're starved. Or by lunch, you're craving something so bad because you're starved. I like to eat every 2 to 3 hours because I like food and I like to eat a lot. But I'm making really good choices in what I'm putting in my body. So every 4 to 5 hours or 2 to 3 hours, if you're having those snacks, don't eat 2 hours before bedtime. Your biggest meal should be at lunch. Your smallest meal should be dinner. Remember, your body digests best after lunch, so you're feeding your body as much as you can between breakfast and lunch, and then eating less after lunchtime so that your body has time to digest all that good food from the morning. I hope these tips are helpful. Please message me and let me know that they are so that I know that you are kind of getting something out of these. And I hope you're having a great day.